Making headlines tonight. The Secretary General of the Muslim World League, Mohammed Abdul Karim Al-Assa, has praised the leadership of the Prime Minister Hun Sen. He said he's maintained religious stability in the country, allowing people to practice religions in Cambodia to live harmoniously together. Prime Minister Hun Sen released a special message to commemorate the 15th anniversary of the Cambodian Veterans Day, where he announced that the monthly social security contributions from the state that the veterans and developments receive be gradually increased, including other benefits such as equal licenses, social land concessions, new homes and so on. Protests have been marching all over the world due to the cost of living. And finally, the 11th edition of the Cambodia International Film is set to begin at the end of this month from the 28th of June to the 3rd of July. This year's festival will present films from 26 countries through the selection of 150 films, including short, feature films, documentaries and animation. This is the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. A very good evening to you. I'm Anthony Ellis. The Secretary General of Muslim World League, Mohammed Abdul Karim Al-Assa, has praised the leadership of the Prime Minister Hun Sen, who he said has maintained religious stability in the country, allowing people of all practicing religions in Cambodia to live harmoniously together. The Secretary General made this statement during the meeting in the Prime Minister Hun Sen on Tuesday morning at the Peace Palace in Phnom Penh. EAC News reporter Darshana Guchen has more details.
The Prime Minister's assistant, Ieng Sopalet, told reporters after the meeting that Secretary General Mohammed Abdul Karim Al-Assa considers Cambodia to be a country of interest because it is a country without significant religious discrimination where people of all practicing religions can live together. He said, "This is the true value of Cambodia, which is revered as a model for the world." The Muslim World League Secretary General also congratulated Cambodia on having a prime minister that leads the country in a way that avoids inciting religious conflicts. He added that Saudi Arabia takes the example of Cambodia's leadership and shares it on various forums, with many leaders learning how Cambodia has given freedom and religious love to all. Prime Minister Hun Sen said that in order for a country to achieve peace, stability, and development, it must be tolerant and religiously harmonious without bias. Laws or political policies cannot be used to control people's religions, and on the contrary, policies and methods must be aimed at making progress. The Muslim World League is an international non-governmental Islamic organization based in the holy city of Mecca. It aims to present to the world true Islam and its tolerant policies, provide humanitarian aid, extend bridges of dialogue and cooperation with all, engage in positive openness to all cultures and civilizations, follow the path of centrism and moderation to realize the message of Islam, and ward off movements calling for extremism, violence, and exclusion for a world characterized by peace, justice, and coexistence. Darshana Gauchan, EAC News.
The outgoing German ambassador to Cambodia, Christian Berger, has said that Cambodia and Germany have maintained good relations despite the obstacles caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. He hopes the relationship between the two countries will continue to grow. The ambassador made this statement while visiting the Prime Minister Hun Sen at the Peace Palace on Tuesday morning for his farewell meeting. Ambassador Christian Berger said that everything went smoothly in his 3 years as the German ambassador to Cambodia, and bilateral relations between the two countries were well maintained. The further development in relations what Germany and Cambodia have both wanted. Prime Minister Hun Sen thanked the German ambassador for helping further develop Cambodia-Germany relations and wished him more success in the future. The Federal Republic of Germany and Cambodia have diplomatic relations since 1967. Although these relations were interrupted between 1969 and 1993, Germany established official relations with Cambodia's Supreme National Council in 1992, and after that 1993 elections, Germany's representative at the SNC was converted into diplomatic missions. Prime Minister Hun Sen released a special message to commemorate the 15th anniversary of the Cambodian Veterans Day on Tuesday the 21st of June, where he announced the monthly Social Security contributions from the state to the veterans and dependents will receive gradually increase, including other benefits such as equally licensed, social land concessions, new homes, and so on. EAC News reporter Decca Nin has further details.
Prime Minister Hun Sen wrote in the letter published to commemorate this year's Cambodian Veterans Day that the sacrifices of veterans, including women and people at all stages of history, have contributed significantly to the protection of territorial integrity, peace, and social stability for the Kingdom of Cambodia, which aims to ensure economic and social development for the benefit of the motherland and the people of Cambodia. He wrote, 21st of June 2022 is the proudest historical day that veterans and people all across the Kingdom of Cambodia celebrate. It is the 15th anniversary of Cambodian Veterans Day to commemorate the heroic acts of veterans and be grateful for their heroism, the warriors of the armed forces, and people who have bravely sacrificed their lives for the cause of our beloved motherland. In return for this sacrifice, since the day of Cambodia's liberation on the 7th of January 1979, the royal government has paid great attention to the implementation of various policies to improve the well-being and living standards of veterans. The Ministry of Social Affairs, Veterans and Youth Rehabilitation, as well as relevant public and private institutions, have given priority to veterans and their families in assessing public services in accordance with government policy. Currently, 103,797 veterans and 150,539 dependents are receiving monthly Social Security payments from the state. In April 2020, the royal government increased the monthly Social Security allowance for retirees and persons with disabilities to 640,000 real per month. The benefits will also apply to civil servants and armed forces. The royal government has provided National Social Security Fund cards for persons with disabilities and retirees, as well as Health Equity Fund cards for book holders of the families of victims and the deceased. Families with National Social Security Fund cards can also be treated in hospitals free of charge, and a policy has been put in place and implemented granting social land concessions to veterans and veterans' families by building development villages for soldiers with disabilities in the 3 provinces of Kampot, Siem Reap, and Monte Minjay. The Cambodian Red Cross has also contributed to the construction of houses for 628 families of poor veterans and veterans with disabilities on more than 900 hectares of social land concessions. Each family received 70 by 150 meters of land each, which was provided by Prime Minister Hun Sen in Phnom Kravang district of Posat province. Meanwhile, the Cambodian Veterans Association and philanthropists have also built thousands of homes for veterans in different communities. Prime Minister Hun Sen thanks His Majesty King Norodom Sahamoni and Her Majesty Queen Mother Norodom Muniniat Sihanouk for their constant care for the Cambodian people, especially for their support of veterans and their families with the deepest devotion to Brahma. He also thanked the Cambodian Red Cross, development partners, NGOs, and all other donors and philanthropists for their support and assistance to veterans and vulnerable groups in Cambodia. The Prime Minister wrote, "This kind gesture reflects the spirit of helping each other in all circumstances, everywhere in the Kingdom of Cambodia." Dekanin, EAC News.
The Cambodian Red Cross, with the Queen Mother Norodom Muniniat Sihanouk as the Honorary President and First Lady Bundalani Hun Sen as the President, has donated $50,000 for the 4th time, as well as other materials and food to the Angkor Hospital Children's located in Siem Reap to support the process of providing health services to Cambodian children. EAC News reporter Dashana Guchin has this story.
The first Deputy Secretary General of the Cambodian Red Cross and the Permanent Vice President of the National Elite Working Group, Mayan Neri Sopiak, led the Executive Committee of the Cambodian Red Cross branch in Siem Reap to hand over the funds and materials on the morning of Monday, 20th June. Welcoming the director of Angkor Hospital for Children, Dr. Nuon Chan Piktria, said that currently the Angkor Hospital for Children in Siem Reap is busy, with more than 400 children coming a day to receive medical checkups and medical care for general diseases, surgery, eye problems, cancer, newborn care, and more. Children and their families come from all provinces in Cambodia to receive care at the hospital. He added that the hospital relies entirely on funds from donors, philanthropists, partners, and fundraisers, both domestic and foreign, to keep its health services running. The Cambodian Red Cross First Deputy Secretary General said that this is the 4th time that the organization has provided funding to support the Angkor Hospital for Children, and affirmed that the Cambodian Red Cross will continue to support the hospital in the future as well. She said the president of the Cambodian Red Cross, First Lady Bunrani Hun Sen, has always been very concerned about improving the well-being of the Cambodian people, especially mothers, children, and infants, in line with the organization's strategic development plan. After the donation handover event, the Cambodian Red Cross delegation visited and distributed gifts directly to the parents of 100 children and infants who are being treated at the Angkor Hospital for Children. Each family individually received one kit, which includes a mosquito net, blanket, sarong, scarf, baby shirt, shampoo, and scented body soap, as well as 50,000 riel or roughly $12.5. Darshana Gauchan, EAC News.
A researcher said on Saturday, June the 18th, the recent discovery of a giant stingray measuring 300 kilos or 661 pounds and 3.9 meters, 13 feet, in northern Cambodia marked a record of the world's biggest freshwater fish. EAC News reporter Deccan Nin has the details.
A team of international researchers and fishermen caught, recorded, and released the stingray in the Mekong River in Cambodia on the 14th of June. The giant animal was released after a tracking device was implanted in it. Zeb Hogan, a fish biologist at the University of Nevada, said that it's very exciting news to see the world's largest fish because it means that this stretch of the Mekong is still healthy. He added that the record also surpassed that of a 293-kilogram Mekong giant catfish that was caught in northern Thailand in 2005. The large female fish, which was named Boramai or full moon in Khmer because of its round shape, was fitted in an acoustic device that will enable biologists to monitor its behavior and locations after it was released back into the river. The area of the Mekong River faces devastating ecological effects, according to a statement from the expedition team, which added that there were reports of a plan to build several hydropower dams in Cambodia's portion of the river. Experts also highlighted other concerns the river faced, including illegal overfishing as well as plastic waste. Dekanin, EAC News.
If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
Protests have been marching all over the world due to the cost of living. In the last couple of days, Argentina, Brussels, Ecuador and Sri Lanka have held protests where tens of thousands of protesters have gathered chanting and waving slogans.
Tens of thousands of people gathered in the center of Brussels on Monday, 20th of June, to protest against the cost of living. Strikes forced the Brussels airport to cancel all departing flights and halted many bus services across the country. Inflation hit 9% in June in Belgium, mirroring sharp price rises elsewhere, largely because Russia's invasion of Ukraine has hit grain supply and caused the cost of energy to spike. Monday, 20th of June, thousands of indigenous demonstrators marched through Ecuador's capital on Monday, urging President Guillermo Lasso to agree to demands for economic and social support, the latest in a series of protests that have injured dozens and disrupted the economy. Amid a surge in the cost of living, the protests began last Monday with a list of 10 demands, including a fuel price cut, preventing further expansion of Ecuador's oil and mining industry, and more time for small and medium-sized farms to pay off debt. Police in Nepal's capital fired tear gas and charged at protesters with sticks on Monday, 20th of June, to break up a demonstration by students against fuel price hikes, officials and witnesses said, in a sign of growing public discontent over rising inflation. The price hike is a crime done against the public, Girish Tagudna, a protester, told reporters. Dinesh Manali, a police official, said protesters threw stones and damaged a police vehicle, but that there were no injuries or arrests. Fares for public transport and goods vehicles has been increased by up to 7.7% following the fuel price increase, local authorities said. Nepal's 29 million people are facing a surge in food and energy prices, raising the risk of social unrest. Annual retail inflation accelerated to a 6-year high of 7.87% in mid-May. Hundreds of university students, trade unionists, and artists marched through the streets of the capital, Colombo, demanding the resignation of the government of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Economic mismanagement and the COVID-19 pandemic have left Sri Lanka battling its worst financial problems in 7 decades, and a lack of foreign exchange has stalled imports of essentials, including fuel, food, and medicines. The island nation of 22 million people is scrambling to get fuel shipments in the next 3 days, the energy minister said, as public disaffection grows because of a persistent shortage of diesel and petrol. But public distress at the prolonged shortages is growing. Protesters blocked an entrance to the finance ministry, and police had to help out an official due to the attend of IMF talks. Sri Lankans, angered by long queues, often overnight, for fuel faced off with security forces over the weekend, and troops at 2 petrol stations fired shots in the air to control the crowds. Thousands of Argentines took to the main streets of Buenos Aires on Thursday, 16th of June, to demand social programs, state assistance, and better working conditions as the country inflation topped 60%. Among chants and music, protesters held signs demanding an end to hunger and low wages. Fueled initially by soaring oil prices in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, inflation has broadened out to everything from food to services, with double digits reading in some countries around the world.
More than 2/3 of refugees and Venezuelans displaced abroad come from countries that have suffered from hostile actions or sanctions from the US, according to the report released by the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, on Thursday.
UNHCR said on Thursday in its annual Global Trends report that 89.3 million people around the world are displaced, well over double the figure of 10 years ago. More than 2/3, or 69%, of refugees and Venezuelans displaced abroad come from just 5 countries: Syria 6.8 million, Venezuela 4.6 million, Afghanistan 2.7 million, South Sudan 2.4 million, and Myanmar 1.2 million. To varying degrees, these countries have suffered from US and Western military intervention or unilateral sanctions, which have caused or aggravated the plight of refugees around the world. The US and its Western allies have launched wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, cultivated anti-government forces in West Asia and North Africa, intervened forcefully in various regional situations, become directly involved in the Syrian war with military intervention, and have long interfered in Venezuela's internal affairs and continue to impose economic sanctions on the nation. Critics point out the hypocrisy of Western nations talking about humanitarian issues, all the while their actions cause social unrest, economic deterioration, and mass impoverishment in many countries, directly adding to the global refugee crisis. Even though they are at the root of many of the world's major refugee crises, the US and Western countries are failing to fulfill their basic commitments to alleviating the plight of people displaced by their own actions and policies, critics say. According to the UNHCR's projected global resettlement needs of 2022, nearly 90% of the world's refugees are hosted in developing countries, not developed Western countries. The United States policy on refugees has become a highly charged partisan political issue and not a humanitarian issue at all, say critics, with migrants from many countries in Central and South America in peril at the U.S. border, where they have reportedly been subjected to inhuman treatment by U.S. officials. According to the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, law enforcement authorities have arrested over 200,000 migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border for 2 consecutive months since March. Data shows that in 2021, U.S. law enforcement officials apprehended an estimated 1.7 million migrants, including 145,000 children at the U.S.-Mexico border, a 20-year high.
To distribute food, but there is so much snatching that she can barely...
Dmitry Muratov, the co-winner of the 2021 Nobel Peace Prize and the editor of one of Russia's latest major independent newspapers, auctioned off his Nobel medal on Monday the 20th of June for a record of $103.5 million to aid children displaced by the war of Ukraine. All proceeds from the auction, which coincided with the World Refuge Day on Monday, would the benefit UNICEF's humanitarian response for Ukraine's displacement children. Heritage Auctions, which conducted a sale in New York, said in the statement. Muratov's Novaya Gazette newspaper, fiercely critical of President Vladimir Putin and his government, suspended operations in Russia in March after warnings from the state over its coverage of the war in Ukraine. Pressure against liberal Russian media outlets have been continuous under Putin, Russia's paramount leader since 1999, but it has mounted after Moscow sent troops into Ukraine on February the 24th. Muratov has attacked with red paint in April. Russia's mainstream media and state-controlled organizations follow closely the language used by the Kremlin to describe the conflict with Ukraine, which Moscow calls a special operation to ensure Russian security, intensifies its neighbor Kyiv, and its Western allies say it's an unprovoked war of aggression. According to US media reports, the auction of Muratov's prize shattered any record of any Nobel medal that has been auctioned off, with reports saying that the previous highest sale fetched just under $5 million. Muratov, who was co-founder of Novaya Gazette in 1991, won 2021 the Nobel Peace Prize with Maria Ressa of the Philippines for the Nobel Prize Committee said was the efforts of safeguard freedom of expression, which was a precondition for democracy and lasting peace. Muratov, who pledged to donate about $500,000 of the prize money to charities, dedicated his Nobel to the 6 Novotas Gazette journalists who have been murdered since 2000. The list included journalist Anna Pokrovskaya, a critic of Russia's war in Chechnya, who was killed in 2006 in the elevator of her Moscow apartment building. Now let's have a look at the weather and what you can expect for tomorrow. And finally, the 11th edition of Cambodia's International Film Festival is set to begin at the end of this month. From the 28th of June to the 3rd of July, this year's festival will present films from 26 countries to a selection of 150 films, including short and feature films, documentaries and animation. EAC News attended KIF's press conference last week on Wednesday to get more information.
The Cambodia International Film Festival held its second major press conference on Wednesday, 15th June, at the Rosewood Hotel to announce highlights of this year's festival program and to also belatedly hand out the 2020 SIF Talent Awards, which were previously canceled due to the pandemic. The director of SIF, Cedric Eloy, and executive director of Bopana Center, Chia Sopiep, gave a presentation on this year's SIF program, announcing some of the Cambodian cinema feature titles, such as Rithipan's Everything Will Be Okay, winner of the Silver Bear for Outstanding Artistic Contribution at the Berlin Film Festival 2022, Kavich Niang's White Building, awarded Best Actor at the Horizonte Venice Film Festival 2021, and LD Pictures' Single Dad and the Clock Remastered. Speaking with Kavich Niang after the press conference, he said he was looking forward to meeting everyone together again at SIF, especially after having done the festival circuit abroad for his film White Building. While his film came out in theaters earlier this year, he said he is happy to be able to experience a festival environment again in Cambodia.
I'm very happy to be a part of the SIF, this year again. It's been 2 years that we miss this kind of feeling and environment, to meet all different people, artists, non-artists, to discuss and also to learn more about something new, that's happening around the world, not only about Cambodia. And I think I'm very happy, to see new face and old face coming back. And yes, and I hope that I will show my work to other people who miss the screening of White Building.
Under its international program, SIF will be celebrating the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Cambodia and Australia, providing this year's focus on Australian cinema. A rare panorama of 16 Australian feature films spanning 1953 to 2022 will be screened, including the cult classic Mad Max 2, Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and Flirting. Other international highlights include the 2022 Best Picture Oscar winner Coda and Denis Villeneuve's multi-Oscar winner Dune coming back on IMAX. It was also announced that French-Cambodian actress and Hollywood star Elodie Yung will be returning as a patron for this year's festival, after last being a patron for the 8th edition of SIF in 2018. Young is best known for her role as Elektra in the second season of Daredevil and in the miniseries Defenders. She currently stars as the lead role in the Fox TV series The Cleaning Lady. I can feel that the Cambodian film scene is full of talent and passion. I am proud to be supporting SIF, an outstanding platform bridging Cambodia with the rest of the world, said Young. The Australian ambassador to Cambodia, Pablo Kang, was present at the Wednesday press conference and delivered remarks of support for the program and festival as a whole on behalf of the Australian Embassy. The Deputy Director General of the Ministry of Culture and Fine Arts, Ek Bunta, also expressed the ministry's support for the festival on behalf of the Minister of Culture and Royal Government of Cambodia.
As the national institution, as the public institution, we support all the organization, institute or stakeholder, especially private sector. We are already encouraged, and we put film industry development or empowering into our national policy project for culture. I think now we try to work as the team, and it's not only public sector can be moved alone, but the private sector or foundation or the institution, university can join together. The ministry accept every stakeholder. We sit together, discuss, and we find out the way how we can promote, we can support the film industry in Cambodia.
Cambodian artists and filmmakers Tarot Sam, Kavich Niang, and Lamopik Riti also delivered remarks at the press conference, sharing their experiences in the film industry as well as their hopes for the future. Mixed martial arts fighter and actress Tarot Sam, who has starred in films such as First They Killed My Father and Jailbreak, spoke about the hardships she faced as a woman boxer and having to overcome judgment from her family and society. She said that she fought hard to prove herself and change people's mindsets, and today her family and neighborhood have all become huge supporters. When asked what message she hopes to give to the new generation of aspiring actors, she said she hopes when her latest Hollywood film comes out, it will help encourage the young generation.
I hope shotgun wedding, when shotgun wedding come out, it's encourage all my young generation, especially my age or other people that they used to lose hope. Just don't lose hope. If they can't reach international, they can do here. It's best too. It's for your nation. So just keep hoping and reaching the dream and do whatever to represent yourself and your country.
In between remarks delivered by the specially invited guests, the 10th SIF Talent Awards were handed out to Sarita Ret, who won Actress of the Year 2020, Lik Lida from LD Pictures, who won Producer of the Year 2020, and Heng Sam, who won Best Actor 2020 for his debut performance in the Australian film Buoyancy. Heng Sam said he was surprised but very happy to receive this award 2 years later.
The first, I just like, oh, it will be not happen again. But mom just said, oh, she have something to tell me. And she said, oh, she have a call from Buoyancy. And I said, what? It's happening again? And I really happy to come here and like, it's really cool here. Yeah.
The Cambodia International Film Festival is Cambodia's largest international film and cultural event. It is organized by the Cambodia Film Commission and the Bopana Center, hosted by the Ministry of Culture and Fine Arts, and endorsed by UNESCO. Initiated in 2010, the festival acts as a catalyst for the film sector initiative, gathering more than 20,000 participants each year. SIF also acts as a bridge between Cambodia and the world through the universal language of film and culture, promoting the circulation of films within the region as well as promoting Cambodian productions. The 11th edition of the Cambodian International Film Festival will present 150 films from 26 countries. There will be over 160 screenings and events free of charge at all major cinemas and other venues in Phnom Penh, so come and check the festival out from 28th June to 3rd July. Darshana Gauchen, EAC News, Rosewood Hotel, Phnom Penh.
Thank you for watching the Daily Roundup here on EAC News Channel. For more breaking news and updates, check our website eacnews.asia or search EAC News on Telegram, Smart TV or your favourite app store. More from the EAC News team tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We'll see you then.